Hey guys, welcome to Jaxbeautifulyou. In today's video, we're going to be talking about some polarizing perfumes. So these are perfumes that I've talked about on my channel, whether I personally like them or not. I've talked about them at some point in my channel and I got a huge response from people saying that they either love the fragrances or they absolutely hated the fragrances. So these are the ones that seem to be the most divided, and I'm going to go through them with you and tell you how I feel about them, and I would love for you to join in. I want to hear from you what you think of these fragrances. If you have strong feelings towards any of these fragrances one way or another, let me know in the comment section. If you're new here, hi, my name is Jackie. Thank you so much for clicking on my thumbnail today. I really appreciate you being here. To all my returning subscribers, thank you guys so much for all your continued love and support. I really appreciate you. If you are interested in hearing me talk about some polarizing fragrances, then just keep on watching. Alright, the first polarizing fragrance is from Mugler, and this is Angel. This is a fragrance that I do not own because I do not like this fragrance at all. To me, this fragrance smells like body odor on me. It really does not mix with my skin chemistry very well at all, and I'm just not a fan. It is a very strong, very recognizable, and very unique fragrance for sure. It definitely deserves attention. I think that it is one of the first fragrances that ever really started to play around with gourmands, at least one of the popular ones that everybody kind of was talking about for a while there, and I feel like it kind of paved the way for gourmands. So the fragrance is iconic and I do have respect for it, but personally I immensely dislike that fragrance and I do not like the way it smells on me. Like I said, it smells like body odor. There are a million different notes in this fragrance, but there's a big dose of patchouli, and the patchouli in the base mixed with the dark chocolate just doesn't work on me. And that patchouli smells very earthy and very almost like dirty smelling to me, and I've just never liked it. So I want to hear from you. I want to know, what do you think about Angel? Are you a fan or are you not a fan? Because I think there are a lot of people out there who absolutely love that fragrance. That's why it's so iconic and still talked about to this day. And then there are people who absolutely cannot stand it. And I want to know what you think about Mugler Angel, the Eau de Parfum. Alright, up next we have a fragrance that I really don't like at all. This is probably my least favorite fragrance I've smelled to date, and this is by Tom Ford Black Orchid. This is a fragrance that I have an actual physical response to when I smell it. And it's not a good one. It's one that makes me just feel nauseous and I really dislike it. I remember the first time I ever smelled it, I was at the store, I think I was at a Macy's, and the sales associate was helping me smell I was smelling a bunch of different Tom Ford offerings, and Black Orchid was definitely one I was curious about because it is so polarizing. People either love or hate this fragrance, and she told me that it was her favorite fragrance of all time. So when I smelled it for the first time, I actually had to hide my immense dislike of the fragrance. I had to hold back my physical response because she just got done telling me it was her favorite fragrance of all time, so I didn't want to be a jackass, you know. So I just kind of tried my best to hide my extreme dislike of the fragrance, but it's just not for me. There are so many notes in this fragrance. There's truffle in here, and I'm not sure why there's mushroom in a fragrance. Like I just can't get into it. And there's blackcurrant, gardenia, ylang ylang, jasmine, there's lemon in here, there's spices, Mexican chocolate, patchouli, incense, sandalwood, musk, vetiver. I mean, it just smells like a hot mess to me, and it actually kind of reminds me a little bit, just a small tiny bit, of something that's like beginning to decay. But I have heard many people talking about this fragrance here on YouTube, and I know a lot of people that actually truly love this fragrance. So again, I want to know from you in the comment section, what do you think of Tom Ford's Black Orchid? I actually have a sample, a pretty decent sized sample that I keep because I keep going back to it. I keep sniffing it every now and again to see if I still feel the same way. You know, tastes change and noses change. change. And wouldn't it just be hilarious? I feel like it would be awesome if one day I smelled Black Orchid and I just absolutely loved it. I think that that would be so funny, and I actually kind of wish that that would happen. And so I just keep going back to it, smelling it, hoping that one day I'll like it. But as of right now, Black Orchid from Tom Ford is a huge, huge no for me. Another one by Mugler is Alien, the Eau de Parfum. A lot of people love that fragrance, and that was a pretty popular fragrance for a very long time, and people still talk about Alien. And it's a pretty iconic and well-known fragrance, but it's also a fragrance that is loved by many, but also hated by many as well. I've had a lot of comments about Alien on my channel, and not all of them are very positive. Now, for me, I personally don't hate Alien. It's not my favorite. I don't own a bottle of it. I find the jasmine to be a bit too much, a bit too sharp for me. I love white florals and I love jasmine, but there's something about that fragrance that feels just very, very sharp on my skin. But I have smelled that fragrance on other people and thought it smelled absolutely amazing. So I do think it's a really nice fragrance. I like it on other people, but on myself, it just doesn't work. So again, let me know in the comment section what you think of Alien. Alien is very jasmine forward. So top notes you have jasmine, middle notes you have woody notes, and then base notes you have amber. So it's a very strong, sexy amber fragrance with a lot of jasmine, and it just feels dark. It feels like a dark, sexy date night, strong type of fragrance. Now, I unfortunately never got to smell the original Alien. I know it's been reformulated, and I've only smelled the most recent, I think the most recent formulation. So I've heard a lot of people say, and I think the same is true with Angel as well. I've heard a lot of people say that they loved the original, but then when those got reformulated, it was just not what it once was. And so unfortunately for me, I've never got to experience the originals, but the Alien that's offered now, that you can buy in stores now, I have tried, and it's just a bit too sharp on the jasmine for me, a bit too indolic. So Alien's a no for me, but I don't hate it. I don't have super strong like negative feelings towards it. I like it, but I don't love it. My favorite Alien is Alien Goddess Intense. That is definitely the Alien fragrance for me. I absolutely love that one. I think it's a beautiful combination of the OG Alien and Alien Goddess put together. You have Alien Goddess Intense. The jasmine's toned down a little bit. It's a lot smoother, still very ambery, warm, but it has that creamy like coconut in it as well. I just absolutely love Alien Goddess Intense. That one is my favorite. So let me know what Alien is your favorite in the comment section. All right, up next we have by Kayali, Invite Only Amber 23. Now I need to retest this fragrance because when I first tested it, it had first come out and I was fairly new to fragrances at that point in time. I didn't have a whole lot of experience. My nose, you know how it goes. You know how like your nose gets trained better and better as you go along. It's kind of like wine, you know, like when you first start drinking wine, for me, the only wine I could handle was like Moscato. And then as I started to taste more wines and grow, you know, your palate expands. And now I love a good Cabernet, a good Pinot Noir. You know what I mean? I don't even think I could drink Moscato anymore. I think it'd probably be too sweet. But your nose is kind of the same way. It develops, it changes, it kind of, you know, I don't know, expands, I guess you could say. So when I first tried Invite Only, I wasn't a fan and I didn't give it a very good review. I'm kind of shocked about that though, because when I look at the notes, it's right up my alley. It's very ambery, very warm. It has a lot of cinnamon in it, which is a note that I absolutely love. So I find it hard to believe that I wouldn't love this fragrance. There's cherry in it as well, which I absolutely love. And it just seems like a fragrance that would be really something I would love. So I really need to revisit that fragrance. The only thing I remember is that the dry down was incredibly woody on my skin and I felt like I smelled like lumber almost. The opening of the fragrance was beautiful. I got a ton of cinnamon and I've always loved cinnamon even from the beginning. But as the fragrance started to dry down on my skin, it started to turn into this very woody, just very woody fragrance. And I'm wondering if I'll still feel that way now. So I do need to revisit it, but I do remember that when this fragrance came out, it had the craziest reviews. The reviews were all over the place. People could not agree on what this fragrance smelled like. There were people who were saying it was cherry, people could smell the cherry. There are people who were saying they could smell the cinnamon, and people could not agree. And I think it's just one of those things, you know, it's just one of those fragrances that's kind of a chameleon. It's one of those fragrances that has so many notes in it, and dominant kind of notes, that it depends on the nose what you're going to pick up, you know. But for me, I got a heavy dose of cinnamon, amber, and a lot of woody notes. So I'm going to retest that fragrance because I feel like I should love that perfume, and I'll keep you updated. I'll keep you posted on how I feel about it. But I want to know from you guys, again, this is an interactive video. I want you guys to comment on these fragrances because I want to know from you guys what you got from that fragrance. If you tried Invite Only Amber 23, did you get mostly cherry? Did you get mostly cinnamon? How did the fragrance smell to you, and how do you feel about it? Another one by Kayali that was super polarizing was Vanilla Royale Sugared Patchouli 64. Now I do have this fragrance because I absolutely love it. I paid for this with my own money. This was not sent to me. I love this perfume. This was love at first sniff. This fragrance is right up my alley because it's very warm, it's very boozy, it's got some gourmand touches. But what really scared me about this fragrance is that there's leather, patchouli, and oud in the fragrance, which patchouli is something that I typically love, but it has to be done in a certain way. I don't love dirty, earthy smelling patchouli, or what I interpret as dirty, earthy. I like warm, clean kind of patchouli, and that's what I feel like is in here. However, I have heard some people refer to this as a more earthy patchouli, which isn't what I pick up, but we're all different, right? This is another polarizing fragrance because so many people were getting so many different things. Some people were saying they really could smell the oud in here, which I cannot smell oud in this fragrance. I just get, first opening blast of this fragrance is rum, like hardcore rum. Very, very boozy fragrance, so you have to be into that. And then I get the patchouli, which smells like a very clean, sweet, sugared patchouli. That's definitely what I get. And then I start to pick up the vanilla. I get a little bit of the creme brulee, a lot more now than I did in the beginning. When I first tried this fragrance, I didn't get much of the creme brulee, but as time goes on, I pick it up a lot more. I get a little tiny hint of leather in this fragrance as well, but it's very smooth to my nose, not rough or harsh. So I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. I think it's sexy. It has really good performance on me. I have zero issues with this. I've never had issues with the performance of this. It lasts all day. I have a really nice scent bubble around me, and I personally adore this fragrance. This is now my favorite Kayali that I have tried so far. I used to... Sweet Diamond Pink Pepper was number one for a very, very long time for me, but it has been replaced by this one. This is now my favorite. So I'm a huge, huge fan. Of course, let me know how you feel about it, but I love it. Okay, of course, we have to talk about Baccarat Rouge 540 because that is such a polarizing fragrance. I think for a long time it was a very loved fragrance, and I think that it is still a very loved fragrance by a lot of people. And I think it does deserve some respect. I think it does deserve some recognition because it is a pretty iconic fragrance, and at the time when it came out, it was pretty unique. There wasn't really anything else like it out there. And so I have respect for Baccarat Rouge 540, but I am not a fan. I've never really been into it. I could never get into it. It's just a burnt sugar smelling kind of scent profile that I find I personally don't enjoy. And I got to the point where I realized I didn't enjoy it so much that anything that kind of smelled like it, I didn't like either. So that whole scent profile, anything that kind of reminds me of Baccarat Rouge 540, I'm just not a fan of. It's not my scent profile. It's not for me. That's okay though, you know? You don't have to like what everybody else likes. You don't have to be into everything, you know? No, it doesn't mean your nose is broken. No, it doesn't mean anything. It just means you're different, you know? It just means you have different tastes. And you know, I have to say, I've always gotten a little kind of, I don't know, amused, but also shocked, I guess, when people get upset with other people for not liking the same fragrances that they like. To me, that's just so weird. You know, it would be like we don't get mad at each other for not liking the same food, right? I mean, could you imagine going out to dinner with your best friend and you both get like cheeseburgers and you order pickles, but she doesn't because she doesn't like pickles, and you get mad at her because how dare you not order pickles? I love pickles. You know, like it's so absurd. That's what it's like for me when I hear somebody get mad that somebody doesn't like their perfume. You know, it's like, why do you care? Why would anybody care about that? You know, and just like what you like, it's fine. But I've also had comments from people saying that they're so relieved to hear that someone else doesn't love this perfume because they felt like they were an alien, or they felt like they were such a weirdo or had bad taste or whatever. And that's not what that means at all. It just means you are a unique human being with unique scent receptors and scent memories and subconscious. There's so much that goes into scent. It just means you're a unique person. Anyway, I just went on a huge rant there, but I think it's important that we all remember that this is just perfume. It's not serious, and it's okay to like what you like and dislike what you dislike. So for me, Baccarat Rouge 540 is a no. All right, up next we have by the House of BDK, Soir. Obviously I'm a fan because I have a bottle. I went through an entire decant of this first before I bought it. I absolutely loved it, and I still love it. I think this is a gorgeous fragrance, and every time someone says they don't like this fragrance, I actually kind of am amazed because I love it so much. I think it smells so good that it's so hard for me to believe that people don't like this. But they don't. It's not that hard for me to believe because this is a very different fragrance. There are some notes in here that I can see how people wouldn't like it. There's black pepper in the opening, and that's just not going to be for everyone. There's also quince in here. It's very, very fruity, like very strong fruity. That quince is very juicy, fruity to my nose. And then mixed with the black pepper, I can see how that would be not everyone's cup of tea. To me, I think it's a really beautiful contrast. I really enjoy the black pepper and the quince together. But yeah, this is definitely a polarizing fragrance. This is probably the fragrance that gets the most comments whenever I talk about it. People feel pretty strongly about this. I have some people that love it and they talk about how beautiful it is and how amazing, and it's their favorite perfume of all time. And then I've had comments where people just absolutely trash this fragrance and they hate it with a fiery passion. And every time I read those comments, it makes me laugh because people are just like, they don't like this fragrance. But personally, I love it. I actually get really good performance out of this fragrance as well, which I've heard some people say that they don't. And I think BDK is like that. I've heard a lot of differing opinions on the performances of BDK. I've had issues with BDK, like Rouge Smoking. I love that fragrance. I think it's absolutely beautiful, but I won't buy a bottle of it because it does not last on me. I don't know if I go anosmic to it or what, but I can only get about an hour from Rouge Smoking and then it's gone. So I have a dupe for it instead. But this is a fragrance I can smell on me all day, and there's a nice scent bubble around me for the entire day. I don't have issues. So I love this one, and again, let me know. I sound like a broken record, but I definitely want to hear opinions on Soir from the House of BDK because they're so funny. You guys have some funny comments on this fragrance for sure, and it just makes me smile. So that's by the House of BDK, Soir. All right, up next we have by Carolina Herrera, we have the Good Girl range. So the original Good Girl, that one is loved and hated, and then the flankers, and then of course we have Very Good Girl. So the original Good Girl is not my favorite. I don't hate it, but it's not one that I want to own. I'm not going to purchase a bottle of it. And I've tried I think it's the Laneige, and is that what it's called? That might be completely off. I don't remember. It starts with an L. And then there's Supreme, which that one I like better than the other ones. It has kind of like a fruity twist to it, but I still don't love it enough to buy a bottle. But then when Very Good Girl came out, I absolutely love this one. But this is very polarizing as well. Some people hate this flanker. So what's your favorite Good Girl? I want to know. Mine's definitely Very Good Girl. I also enjoy Very Good Girl Glam. That one smells like this one, but it has like a cherry and almond twist to it, which I really enjoy. This is lychee, rose, and vanilla, and some vetiver in the base. This does not smell at all like Good Girl. I mean, this is completely off the reservation when it comes to, you know, I don't even know why this is a flanker, to be honest. This should just be a completely different perfume because it does not, to me, smell anything like Good Girl. Good Girl is like a white floral and gourmand together praline kind of fragrance, and this is rose, lychee. It smells a little tart. It smells sweet and tart in the opening at the same time with a lot of rose, and I get a lot of creamy vanilla in the base. So this is definitely my favorite and I love it. I get really, really good performance out of this one. I think this is one of the best designer fragrances that I own, and I also am a fan of the bottle, which is another polarizing thing. People either love or hate these bottles, these stilettos. And some people think they look cheap, some people think they look tacky. I've heard some people say they look childish even. But for me, I think they're cute. I like it. I think it's fun, and I really like the red bottle is my favorite as well. So I'm a fan of the bottle and I'm a fan of the fragrance itself. So that is by Carolina Herrera, Very Good Girl. All right, up next we have a couple by Xerjoff. Xerjoff can be pretty polarizing. I have my own thoughts about Xerjoff as well when it comes to some of the fragrances that I've tried from them. I absolutely love a lot of offerings from Xerjoff, but I've had a few that I've tried from Xerjoff that I did not love at all. And one of those fragrances is Erba Pura. I recently just tried Erba Pura and I have to say I really, really disliked it. It was not my favorite at all, and I was actually expecting to like it because it is a fruity, musky fragrance, and I love fruity, musky fragrances. Yeah, that's kind of a scent profile that I really, really enjoy, but for me, the fruits in Erba Pura smelled like they were getting ready to be rotten, and I did not enjoy that. And then the musk that was in Erba Pura smelled so screechy to me, like absolutely just scratchy almost. It was just a very unpleasant musk, and I really didn't like it. It is an extremely strong fragrance, very, very loud. I sprayed some and actually got some on my fingers, and it lasted no matter what I did. I washed my hands and I couldn't get the scent off. It is very potent and very strong and headache inducing to me, but I know a lot of people who love Erba Pura. A lot of people love that fragrance, and I've heard people say that it is a compliment getter. And that seems to be a common theme among people who love that fragrance. So I'm thinking that there are certain people that it just really works with their skin chemistry. It smells probably incredible on them because the people around them are loving it. They're getting compliments on it, but it just did not work out for me. So Erba Pura, it was a just overripe, fruity, screechy, hot mess for me, and definitely a no for me. The other one by Xerjoff that is pretty polarizing is Dolce Amalfi. Now this is a fragrance I absolutely love, but this was described as a spicy, juicy fruit gum smelling fragrance, and for a lot of people that ruined it. I've heard a lot of people say they got this fragrance, they liked this fragrance, but then they heard people compare it to juicy fruit gum and it ruined it for them. Now that didn't ruin it for me. I actually like juicy fruit gum. And I don't mind. I love this fragrance. I don't mind smelling like juicy fruit gum at all. I think I have some sort of scent association with fragrances that smell like gum. There's got to be some sort of subconscious thing going on there, because I think that's why I like tuberose, like bubblegum tuberose so much, is because it reminds me of bubblegum. And it just makes me happy. So there's probably some like happy childhood association or something in my subconscious mind that just makes me feel happy when I smell fragrances that smell like gum. I don't know. But I think Dolce Amalfi is amazing. It is pretty spicy though. It has cloves in it, and for some people the cloves is what ruins this fragrance for them. I like cloves to an extent. This is really on the threshold for me. I love this fragrance, but if there were any more cloves in this fragrance, it would ruin it for me. But I absolutely love it. It's spicy, it's sweet, it's juicy, it's got some fruity notes in it. I think it has apple, I think it has quince in it as well. And quince seems to be one of those fruity notes that people either seem to love or hate, and I seem to really love quince. So I am a big fan. I get really good performance out of this. This is probably one of the best performing Xerjoff fragrances that I own. And yeah, I can smell this one on me all day, and I think it smells incredible. So that is Dolce Amalfi by Xerjoff. Up next, we have Lancome's Oud Bouquet. This is a fragrance that people swear by. I've heard people describe this fragrance as a masterpiece. And I have to say, I get that. I do get where they're coming from, because you guys, I wanted to love Oud Bouquet so badly. I wanted to love it so badly, but the truth is that I'm not a big oud lover. I don't like the way oud smells. If it's very strong, barnyard skanky type of oud, it is just not my favorite. To me, it smells like rubbing alcohol, and that's what Lancome's Oud Bouquet smells like, is roses with rubbing alcohol, and I can't do it. And I wanted to love it, and I was so mad. And it is a strong fragrance, by the way, and it is super polarizing, but the people who love it, they just absolutely adore it. And the bottle, those Lancome bottles, are absolutely gorgeous, and I wanted to love it because I wanted that bottle. And it just seems like it would be such an elegant and sophisticated fragrance. I love rose, so I was really disappointed that I did not like it, but I just can't get into that oud. I just can't do it. So the people who love it really love it, but the people who don't love it, like me, really hate it. And if you are not a fan of oud, you are not going to like that fragrance. My husband cannot stand that fragrance. I had a very significant, I still have it, very significant sample size. It was pretty much a decant, like a 10 ml decant of Oud Bouquet. And every time I try, because I go back to it because I'm hoping and praying that I will love that fragrance, and I go back to it and I smell it, and then I'm like, oh, and I just can't stand it. And then of course it lingers in the house because it's so strong. And every time I spray it, my husband's like, will you stop? Will you stop spraying that? Because he hates it. He thinks it smells terrible. So let me know in the comment section what your thoughts are on Oud Bouquet, but it is not a hit in my house. All right, last but certainly not least, this one is one of the most polarizing fragrances on my channel. I have heard so many people love on this fragrance and so many people hate on this fragrance, and that is by Chanel Coco Mademoiselle. You either love it or you hate it. I don't know that there's an in-between, because this is a pretty recognizable fragrance. It's classic, it's iconic, and in my opinion, it is a masterpiece. This is a masterpiece fragrance. I truly love this perfume. My favorite is the intense version, but this is the iconic, classic masterpiece in my opinion, and I think it smells incredible. This is the epitome of class and sophistication to me, to my brain, to my nose, and every time I wear it, I feel like $1,000,000. And I think this is this the #1 selling perfume of all time? I'm pretty sure Coco Mademoiselle is, isn't it? It's up there. It's definitely up there. And this came out a while ago, so it's not like a new perfume, but it still continues to be one of the best-selling perfumes of all time. But some people say that it smells too old-fashioned, it smells vintage, it smells, you know, all of that, just outdated. I've heard a lot of people say it smells pretty outdated, and it's just not for everyone. And there are people, I mean, Chanel fragrances are pretty polarizing in and of themselves. Some people love Chanel fragrances like me, and some people just don't. They just cannot get on with Chanel, and they just do not understand the hype. So let me know how you feel about Chanel. Let me know how you feel about Coco Mademoiselle. Definitely a beautiful fragrance for me, and definitely a very strong and good performing fragrance for sure, that I just love, and I don't think that'll change. I don't see myself ever not loving Coco Mademoiselle. That is it, you guys. Those are the fragrances I wanted to talk about today, the polarizing ones that people have made some pretty funny comments on, and let me know what you think of these. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you found this video helpful and you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I hope everybody is having an amazing day, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!